Welcome to my practicum project review. We did a project-based learning workshop for 19 students of AP Spanish at Bryan High School. In this particular content, there was a lot of technology available: high-speed internet, one-to-one, video cameras available for checkout, LCD projectors in the classroom. If you'll check out on February 25th entry of my blog, you'll see that there are more contextual and need factors listed there. What the need was, based on interviews with the department chair, the building principal, and the technology facilitator, was really for high-level thinking application of course contents that integrated technology. The reason for this is because we want to engage their creativity and benefit their learning community even outside of school. So this project was created to model a step-by-step method for helping students to create a video that would demonstrate their own understanding of a piece of literature. This project incorporated learning theory into the method as well as formative evaluation. And it also engaged students by including a spirit of playfulness and an authentic work-like environment. Again, if you'll see blog entry for February 28th. Now, the preparation for this workshop, the technology was on hand. All I had to do was reserve it. I created tip sheets on how to use Inspiration and iMovie. I also posted these tip sheets in a slideshow to review how to use, which was displayed on the projector, and the whole slideshow was available on demand in Edmodo. I also created student work groups to make sure that there were diverse opinions reflected in each of the group. Now, because these materials were all on hand, there was no budget requirement. I found that the participants really engaged because of the inclusion of technology and their own creative impulses. This workshop really met a need for them. Of course, technology without pedagogy is really just flash, so using the language other than English standards of connecting with other cultures using authentic language, as well as the tech apps for creativity innovation, using electronic communities as a learner, extending the learning environment with digital products, and putting them available for the society at large on YouTube, we were able to meet many of those standards. The participants learned to use a pre-writing planning method, Inspiration, to create a script, and also iMovie to create a dialogue between two characters. Participants also created an assessment and used peer commenting to help others improve their work. The participants created an original video with sound to extend an open-ended piece of literature. This working in small groups method really helped students collect their thoughts. In the beginning, we read a selection of literature, and I selected an open-ended piece from the required reading list. Students, after reading it, began to create graphics that show what they understand. One graphic per group triggered a lot of discussion between the participants. Before we began on the actual scripting, students as a whole group defined what a high-quality finished product would look like as opposed to a low-quality finished product. It was my responsibility to take that matrix and develop an actual rubric with it. The students did come through, though, and help me score as to how many points they felt like different projects should make. I found it interesting that they felt like anybody who completed a project should be guaranteed a 50. Students went back to think about creative approaches to the task. Some of them were very secretive about their great ideas and did not want to share with other groups. But once we got past that, many of the ideas began to improve, bouncing one off of the other. So I sent them home to think about it for the next day. And they really did get a deeper understanding through all this discussion of the piece. The next phase was to create a script, the actual content of the dialogue, and generate lines for what the characters would say that would lead a viewer to the intended conclusions. As host of the workshop, I did review their written scripts for clarity, for accuracy, and authenticity, and made some suggestions for improvement. Then the participants rehearsed their scripts for flow and pacing, and actually did some blocking during this rehearsals, which really cut down on the amount of time it took to film. We recorded the filming in 2 phases. The first was a draft, just to check for lighting, sound, background, make sure the talent was audible. These raw footage films, we plugged the camera straight into the projector and reviewed them as a group. It took a little while for students to become comfortable critiquing each other's work in front of each other, but because it was a risk-free environment, I believe the experience was quite positive. Then we moved on to filming the final version. Most students were able to do this in 1 or 2 takes, and then were edited in iMovie. For me, one of the most difficult phases of this workshop was my own prejudice that because they had indicated they had some base experiences with iMovie, that they would not need as much support as I had anticipated. I was frustrating that they did not take the tips sheet seriously, nor did they listen along as the initial tool was presented. Once we got past their motivations for wanting to seem able to use the technology and actually just teach them the tools, things went a lot smoother. Once the projects were made, we had a popcorn day and got copies of the rubric, and each student was reviewing all the projects together. As they discussed what score they wanted to mark, they did decide as a group whether it was a high project or a low project and how many points to award and why. And I think this combination of social learning with creation and technology really engaged the participants. The final grade really was decided collaboratively by students, and then the final projects were shared in YouTube so that other AP students could find and comment on their works. If you'd like to view the final video, it's available at http://goo.gl/Q5DAC.